51st State, the Master Set Edition.
This is one I've been dying to try out because I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic because I play way too much Fallout.
And we loved Imperial Settlers, which was based on the original version of this game.
Yes, I actually have the old 51st State. I bought it right before they announced they're going to make a new one stuff. So I was like, well, I'm just going to keep it on my shelf now.
Right, so this is the updated version. It's been out for a while now, but this was our first time trying it. It was interesting coming to it as veterans of Imperial Settlers.
Yeah, like we're reading and we're like, we know this. We know this.
It is almost exactly the same in terms of gameplay as Imperial Settlers, with some slight tweaks.
Yes, if you played Imperial Settlers, you know that you all get a little faction board, which each have their own little different resource and trading. That's the same with this, exactly. So there's a little advantages, sort of pushing you between how you should build. Mm-hmm. However, in Imperial Settlers, you also get a personal deck. Like, this is the Egyptian deck, this is the Roman deck, which even pushes you more to combat, gold, what have you. That does not exist in this. So this one is a bit more general in the sense that there's only the main deck, so that will decide really how you play the game.
Yeah. You're also not putting cards on both sides of your faction board anymore. They're just off to one side.
Right, and that's because you lose the personal. It used to be the general cards, your personal cards.
Right. So save some, well, you don't really save any table space, actually. It's the same thing. But anyway, that's something. But other than that, and there's lots of different resources,
and how the game ends.
Oh, right. The Imperial Settlers is after 5 rounds. This one is once somebody hits a certain score, which, ironically or coincidentally enough, in our game, I think was just about after 5 rounds. So it's fairly comparable.
Well, it might have been that's where they came up with 5 rounds. They're like, you know what, just make it 5 rounds.
That's my guess. So I think both are great games. As we said, they're so similar that it's almost hard for them not to be. My preference is a little bit with Imperial Settlers. For number one, even though the post-apocalypse theme is really cool, I think the artwork overall is much more appealing in Settlers to me. And number two, I don't know if it was those faction decks or just certain powers. I just felt like I had a little more fun with the cards in Imperial Settlers.
For me, it's interesting because I definitely agree. I mean, it's hard not to, in a post-apocalyptic kind of sense, not to end up with the gray-brown rebel artwork. I mean, it's nearly impossible. I cannot think. There's probably the few when it gets to the point when it's so overgrown. This doesn't sort of count, but I'm just gonna pull it anyway. Like the Breath of the Wild is sort of like the remains, and like greenery has already grown over everything.
Tokyo Jungle.
Yeah, like when you sort of get so far post-apocalyptic, it almost isn't post-apocalyptic anymore.
Right, it's like nature's taken over again.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't berate that one.
It's tough, but
if you were to think of them as base sets alone, I think I'd prefer 51st. Because since there isn't the faction decks, I'm not nearly as peg-holed into one sort of play style when I pick a board, which I like a little bit more. However, if you include expansions, I think Imperial Settlers shines a bit more because once you get so many different factions, it becomes really fun with all the different decks because like, I really want to try a different play style. You're guaranteed, depending on your faction.
It's interesting because I'm almost the opposite, where I think I prefer feeling like, oh, I'm the Egyptians, I'm going for something, feeling more specialized.
No, I do in some sense, and that's why I was like, but part of me is like, I almost feel relieved. I don't feel like, well, I'm going combat.
Right. No, that's true. You're a little more free to switch up.
But I can't. They're so similar. I can't really shoot down one or the other. I would say you probably shouldn't have both on your shelf, but I think it'd be a great idea if you have a friend, a good gaming group, to have one person own one own the other.
Yeah, definitely no reason to own both. At the end of the day, like, if you love the post-apocalypse theme, you want 51st State. They're both.
Oh, and I should mention, I do also love the Imperial Settlers theme because it's Civ.
Right.
And I do love the idea of like, oh, I'm building a pyramid and stuff. So in the end, I do think they're both. I mean, they're pretty much just reskins of both really done well games. They have just those minor little differences, like I said, that maybe could lean you more towards the other. But in the end, I feel you should own the one that you prefer the theme more to, and probably see if you can get someone else in your game group to own the other one.
If you enjoyed this video, it was just a snippet of our full-length podcast, which you can find on our YouTube channel every week. So please go ahead, like, and subscribe for more board game-related content coming at you in the future.
And don't forget to check out rollforcrit.com, where we actually sell a lot of the games we talked about, as well as post news and all our other videos. Until then, I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and this is Roll for Crit.